All right, hello everyone. My name is Dan Martin, and welcome to our day 5 of our Advanced Excel for Business and Payback Table. All right, in this our day 5, we're going to be looking at some specific objectives like the following. We're going to be looking at introduction to lookup function, the use of VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, and we're going to look at another interesting topic talking about Payback Table and Payback chart to analyze data. So we're going to be focusing on this interesting area. All right, as we all know, lookup function is one of the most important functions in Excel that help us to look for a value at the topmost level of our table or array. All right, so VLOOKUP sometimes can refer to as what value lookup or vertical lookup, while HLOOKUP is referred to as what horizontal lookup. So we're going to see how you can make use of this particular function. All right, thank you. So let's jump in and see how we can make use of our worksheet to practice this. All right, here we are in our worksheet. So here is our first worksheet we are going to use to illustrate the use of what our pivot table. Okay, so in this case we are to use this and look for a particular value in our range. So we're going to use that to look for a value. All right, so to do this, as you can see, we have this sample set of data that we are going to work with. Like we have the full name, and we have the department, and we also have our salary. So what we have to do quickly here is to look for the information that we want to work with. Okay, so in this case we are going to start by looking for a particular record in our table. Okay, so let's jump in and see how we can do this. All right, okay, so we have different worksheets here, like I said, date of birth also, but let me start with this particular exercise where I have the full name, department, and salary. Okay, so in this case we are looking for the salary of a particular name. That means that, as you can see, we have Brian Sloner. So that means if we enter the particular ID number for that person or the particular name, we're supposed to see the salary. So we don't want to scroll up and down and be looking for the person's salary in our table. Okay, so scrolling up and down, what if you have a large range of data from 1 to 1000, so you keep checking and be checking for the salary of that person. So this is not a good idea for you to use. So you can use the VLOOKUP to search for a particular value that you want in your table. So let's say our job here is to enter a VLOOKUP such that it will bring out the salary of the particular person or a particular name we enter here. All right, so first of all, where do we have VLOOKUP? You can see VLOOKUP from your formula tabs, then under lookup and reference, if you scroll down you will see the VLOOKUP, and you can see the description of what VLOOKUP is talking about. Again, we are going to use the HLOOKUP, which if you come up here you will see the description of what HLOOKUP is all about. All right, so let's jump in and see how you can apply the formula. So in this case, you know what we are going to do. Like I said, we're looking for the salary of this person with the help of what our VLOOKUP. So we're going to type the formula by saying equal sign VLOOKUP. Okay, now if you look down here, you have the syntax for this formula, which is what lookup value, table array, column index number, and range lookup. Those are the arguments we need to create this formula. So first of all, where is our lookup value? Our lookup value in this case is in F2. Okay, if you look at my formula, you see that it's in F2. So after F2, we now put what comma. The next thing here is what table array. What is our table array in this formula? As you can see from our argument here, our table array is the entire table we're working with. So we now come down here and select the entire table right here. Okay, so you can select this entire table down to where we want it to be, which is what our table array, which is A2 to C55. Then you put comma. Then the next thing here in this syntax or this argument is column index number, meaning that which column contain the value we are looking for, or which column are we looking at. In this case, we have column A to be 1, column B to be 2, column C to be 3. So the column that contains the salary we are looking for is in column 3. So we type 3, okay, comma. The last thing in this argument is what? Range lookup. Range lookup can be true, that's approximate match, or false, exact match. So we're going to use approximate match. In the option of true, we can put what, or type what, 0. Then we close our parenthesis. So you see that we have VLOOKUP F2, which is our lookup value. That means whatever we enter in this cell, Excel should give us the salary, okay, or whatever name we enter here, Excel should give the salary. So the table array is A2 to C55. Then we have our column index number, which is 3. That means the column C is where we have our salary that we're looking for. Then we have 0. Then we press enter here. So that will give us the salary of this particular person, which is what, $74,243 for Brian. So that means that any salary or any name we enter here, what we'll see is the salary will pop out. For example, let's enter a name like John. If you enter John Thomas, then press enter, the salary will pop out. Okay, if we enter a name like Vicky, okay, we say Vicky James, sorry. All right, if we enter a salary up here, let's say we enter a salary here like Vicky James. Okay, once you press enter, we see the salary of that person. Okay, let's say again we want to see the salary of Steven Lamar. Okay, once you type the name and press enter, it shows the salary of that person. So that's just what this particular VLOOKUP function is helping us to do. So we type a VLOOKUP here. As you can see, there's a VLOOKUP here that look for the value or whatever we enter here in this F2. So if we type any person's name or any employee's name here, it will show us the employee's salary. That's what the formula is doing. So any employee's name or any name we enter here automatically will drop the person's salary, no matter where the salary is in our column C. It just pick and drop the salary right here for us. Okay, all right, now the next example is this. Let's look at the next example here. In this next example, we are to enter the employee's ID number. Okay, so we have to use VLOOKUP to return the salary of the employees with ID number 1030 or any other employee's ID. So same thing here, we're going to type a VLOOKUP formula here such that any ID number we enter, where we have customer ID, if we enter any customer ID, automatically it will give us the salary. All right, so this time around it's not about the name, it's about the ID. So we're using the ID to look for the salary of the employee. So instead of scrolling up and down to look for that person's salary, also you can use a VLOOKUP to look for that particular salary. All right, so let's type the formula by saying equal sign VLOOKUP. Then our table array, our lookup value first of all is what? K1, comma, lookup value is K1, meaning whatever value we enter in K1 or whatever customer ID we enter in K1, it will show us the salary. So that's why it's called lookup value. That's where the value is. Then table array, like I said in a previous example, is this entire table. So you just select the entire table down here. Now once you are done selecting the entire table, what you will do next is to put comma. As you can see, type comma, then column index, which column contain the salary we are looking for from there. Okay, we find out that the column that contains the ID is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's column 8. Okay, column 8. So here we now come back and type 8 right here, comma, then we type 0 for approximate match, then we close the parenthesis. Okay, so that is how the VLOOKUP work here. Remember what we are doing? We want to type any customer ID, then we see the salary popping out instead of scrolling down to look for that person's salary. So look at the formula. In the end, you just press what? Enter key. Now it's showing us not available because there is no ID number there. So if I now come back here and type ID number like 1024, now automatically to show us the employee's salary. All right, it's still not available. That means there's an error. Now I want us to see that anytime you see not available, it automatically means that what we are typing, that there's an error right there. Okay, so that means we are going to change this and check the employee's ID. Okay, let's check another employee's ID. Let's say if it's really from our formula. Okay, so let's say an employee ID like 1025. Okay, now you see that it's showing us not available because we are not entering the correct formula. So anytime you see not available, that means Excel cannot read what you have right here. Okay, so that means there's an error in your formula. So all you need to do is to check your formula. That means there's an error there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is to make sure that we come back and clear this particular error that we have, and make sure that you select your range. Okay, so in this case we are selecting our entire range. Okay, so please note, not available means Excel cannot see what you are looking for. Okay, so just to see that error so that you can know what to do anytime you encounter error. All right, so let's make sure that our formula is correct now so that you can check and know the error and correct the error anytime. All right, so you see that now. So our formula is correct now, so that any ID number we type here 1025, it shows the salary here. If I now type 1024, now it shows the salary of that person. So any employee's ID you enter here, if I enter 1027, it shows the salary of that particular person. Okay, so that means our formula is correct now from our VLOOKUP. So please note, NA means not available. So if you see that error, just go back and check your range, go back and check if there's an error, go back and check if there's a name you enter that Excel doesn't recognize, go back and check if your range you select is properly selected as it's supposed to be. Okay, so now that you can see that we have VLOOKUP K2, A2 to H55, which is our table array, column index is 8, and we have 0. So everything is correct right now. All right, so any employee's ID we enter here, we have the salary. Now quickly, let's assume that we don't want to be typing the employee's ID. What can we do? I don't want to waste my time typing the employee ID to add it there in order to see our salary. So what we'll do is to create a data validation. So here is how we're going to create a data validation. So I'll delete the ID number and it's showing us not available because there's nothing in that cell. I want to create a lookup value using what? A drop list. So I'm going to create a drop list there using what? Data validation. So let's go to data tab. Then in our data validation here, you click and you will see what? Settings, input message, error alert. So under alert, we're going to choose what? List. Then under source, we're going to select our source. In this case, we are going to select what? The employee's ID. All right, so we now come here and select all our employees ID to create a drop list there so that we don't type it. All right, so once you select the employee's ID or whatever you want to put in your source, you click on what? OK. So now let's look at this. That means that we are not going to type the employee's ID again to see the salary. So it's in a drop list now. So what happens is that when we click here, you see all the employees ID dropping out. If I click any of them, you see the salary. If you click any of the employee ID here, you see the salary. If I click here, I can even scroll down here because we have more employees ID. If I click employees ID 1038, it shows us the salary. So all the employees ID now, they are in a drop list when I use what? The data validation from here. Okay, so employees ID 1045 show us the salary. So as simple as that. First of all, you create a VLOOKUP here, then you now create a drop list for all this employees ID or all the customer ID. Then whatever ID you select, pop out the salary for you. So that's another example for our lookup function. Okay, now the next example we are going to work with here is going to be this. All right, now let's say we have a table that is package size, normal post and priority post. Now we want a situation whereby any size, any package size we enter here, we want to see what? The normal post. Okay, we don't just want to come and type the size, type the normal post, type the priority post. So we want to use the VLOOKUP to search for the normal post anytime we type the size. Okay, so we type the size, it will show us the normal post value. So we now call up the VLOOKUP function. Okay, so VLOOKUP, then we now do what? Click on our lookup value, which is A4. Okay, A4 is our lookup value, meaning whatever we type there, go into the table array and bring the normal post value for us. Alright, comma. Then we now select our table array, that is the table Excel is to work with, the table we want Excel to go and pick up something for us, comma. Then which column contain what we want? We need to type column 2 or 2. 2 contain our normal post, which is column B. Alright, then we now type 0 for our exact match or approximate match, then press enter. So you see that now we have small here. Our normal post for small, you can see, is 0.50. Then if I now come back here and type maybe large, if I type large, it will show me 2.0. If I type maybe medium, it will show me what? 2.0. Okay, sorry, let me type that again. So if I now come back here and type if I type medium, okay, so let me type medium, okay, it will show us 1.50. So any packet size we type here automatically will show us the normal post. So for medium is what? 1.50 in our table. Now let's go for priority post, where we have equal sign, still the same VLOOKUP, then our lookup value is still this A4. Okay, then we select our table array, comma, column index number is column 30 because we're looking for the priority post, comma, then you put 0, then close our parentheses. So you see the formula there. By the time you press enter for medium on the priority post, that is 3.0. Let's say we enter something like large. If we enter large, it will show us what? 2.0 for normal post and 4.0 for our priority post. So in this small table, just so you see another example of VLOOKUP, which you have the formula right there. Okay, so you can check out the formula and try it out in any of the worksheet we are working with. Next, quickly, the next example we are going to see here is here. Okay, so let's look at this example here. Now the next example here is that we have this table where we have sell agent, quantity, revenue, price, and customer. Okay, now in this case we have agent report. That means I have my agent in a drop list. If you don't know how to create a drop list, please check my previous example. You'll be able to see how you can create a drop list. So I've already created a drop list here for my agent. So I want a situation whereby if I pick any agent here from my drop list, automatically I will see the price and I'll see what the customer they belong to. So VLOOKUP will do that for me. Alright, so let's type or create the VLOOKUP formula here. So I'll just say what? Equal sign VLOOKUP. My lookup value is H5, which is where I have my agent. Then table array as usual is my entire table here, comma. Then my column index number is, I'm looking for the price here. So the column index number is 4. So we type 4 for our column index number, then put what? 0. Then we close our parentheses. So you see that if I press enter, it will show us 40. That means for agent 1, the price there is 40. Maybe if I choose agent, maybe 6, the price is 74 from our table array. So let me type for customer. The same thing, you want to see the customer by typing VLOOKUP. Okay, then we still click on H5, which is our lookup value. Then we now come back and select our table, comma. Then in this case now our column index number is column 5, then comma, then 0, then we close this. Alright, so you see that we press enter. So that is customer E. So any agent we choose here, okay, automatically to show us the price and the customer it belongs. Because if you look at this, there's a VLOOKUP here under this cell. Also, there's a VLOOKUP here under this cell that does that. So the VLOOKUP still point to H5, which is what our lookup value. So that if I select any agent, okay, maybe agent 1, to show us the price 40 and the customer is customer A. So VLOOKUP can do that for you. Now, what about our HLOOKUP? Now, our table, as you can see that our table is vertical. Okay, our table is in vertical order. Whereby your table is in horizontal order, then that is when you use what? HLOOKUP. It's almost the same thing, just that this time around HLOOKUP is looking for the any value from the row. Okay, while VLOOKUP is looking for any value from the left column. Okay, please, if you want to see more description about what HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP is, go to formula tabs, go to lookup and reference, then point at VLOOKUP. You will see that description. Also, you can point at HLOOKUP. You will see that description, what they are and the syntax. All right. So in this case, let's transpose our table so that it will be in a horizontal format. All right. So I will copy this table, click on where I want the table to be. Then I will now go to Home tab, go to Paste. Then I go to Paste Special. Then I will do what? Transpose. You see that? Copy the table, click on Paste, Paste Special. In this Paste Special dialog box, you choose what? Transpose. Now once you click on Transpose, you see that the table has been transposed automatically. Okay, so we have transposed this table. Now look at the different way it look like in this particular example where we're using what? VLOOKUP. Now look at the way it look like. So we just transpose the table to be in a horizontal order. So in this case, now if your table is given in this format you see here, then that is when to use what? Your HLOOKUP. So we're still going to use the example here to look for something, to look for the price and the customer. Here we've already created, or I've already created the drop down list or the drop list for our agent. So we have to enter VLOOKUP, almost the same thing like HLOOKUP, to look for the value. So in this case, we have equal sign HLOOKUP. Okay, the same thing, lookup value. My lookup value is E27, okay, which is agent 1, or where I have my agent. Then comma, where is my table array? My table array is the entire table here, which I just transpose. Okay, then comma, what about my row index? Now look at, for HLOOKUP it's saying row index number. Remember for VLOOKUP it was what? Column index number. So our row index number, as you can see from this table arrangement, our row index number is row 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 because the price we are looking for is in row 4. So we still add 0 here, then close our parenthesis. Okay, so you see that now what we are looking for is not in column 4, not column 2, but this time around is in row 4. So we press enter. So that is 40. That means if you look at agent 1, the price here is 40. All right. So if I now choose another agent, maybe agent 7, the price is 62. So agent 7 here is 62, which is the price. So this is agent 7. Okay, the price here is 62. Okay, so any agent I choose here, because I'm using HLOOKUP to show me the price. So agent 11, the price here is 43. All right, so this is our agent 11 here, 43. Okay, so we see how the table look like. Then we use what? HLOOKUP. So let's print out the customer finally by saying equal sign HLOOKUP. Then we select our lookup value, comma. Then we now select our table. Okay, we select our table down here, comma. Then we add. Now, since we're looking for customer, our customer is in row 5. So we type 5 here, comma. Then add our 0 and close our parenthesis. Then enter. All right, so customer J. So if I should select agent 4 or any agent, it will give us the price and the customer the agent is belonging to. So that's another way you can use what? Your VLOOKUP and your HLOOKUP right here. Okay. Now you can also use your lookup value using a different workbook. Okay. If you have a different workbook that contains information, you can also use what? Your lookup value or your HLOOKUP or your VLOOKUP. Let's say we're working with 2 range of cell. Okay, if you're working with 2 range of cell, you can, or 2 workbook at the same time. Okay, let's say you have 2 different workbook that contain information you want to pull out, then you can use what? The VLOOKUP. Now in this case, let's say we have this table. Okay, now look at this table. This table contains some information about employees. Okay, now we have the employee ID number here, and we also have this table that contains their salary. Okay, this is the salary where we have it. A table name is what? Employee job salary. So we have annual salary here. Okay, so this table contains their salary, but we don't want the salary to be here. We want to pull the salary in this table into this other table. So this table now called employees deduction, there is no salary. So what I'll do is to come here now and type here annual salary, because I want to pull my annual salary from a different workbook down here. So we'll now call this one annual salary. Okay, this is our annual salary. All right, so I want to pull my annual salary that is in this table down to this other table here. All right, so we use the VLOOKUP by saying equal sign VLOOKUP. Now in this case, where is our lookup value? Our lookup value is me telling Excel to use this ID number. Okay, this ID number, the same is applicable in the other table. So I'm telling Excel to use this ID number, then go to this other table and bring their salary. So I'll just come back here, A2, then where is my table array? I'll now switch back to this table that contain their salary. Okay, this is my new table that contain the salary. Then I'll now come back and select the entire array. Of course, this is my table array. Okay, after I select my table array, I'll now come back here and click here and put comma. Then the next thing I'll put here is what? Column index number. What is my column index number? My column index number in this table called what? Job or employee job salary is what? Column 9. So what I'll do here is to come here and type 9. Okay, because that is the column that contains the salary I'm looking for. Then I'll put comma, and I put what? 0. Then I close my parenthesis. So you can pull your data from different workbook. Then press enter. See that now? Excel has used what? Excel has used this ID number from this table, then come to this particular worksheet and pick their salary from here and drop it in this particular table for me. So to make autofill to see other employee salary, what I will do is to do what? My autofill here to generate other employee salary. Okay, as simple as that. So you can use a different workbook to pull out your information using what? The VLOOKUP. Okay, so let me format this to be what? In a $sign. Okay, so I'll add my $sign to it to be what? $54,454,000. Okay, so what VLOOKUP does is that it goes to the other table that has the salary, pull the salary down into this table with the help of what? Our VLOOKUP. All right, so basically that is how you can use the VLOOKUP. Feel free to practice this using any worksheet that you need to get information without scrolling down to check those information. All right, okay, so now let's look at our pivot table because it's the next thing we are looking at here. Remember, we are looking, our focus today was VLOOKUP and pivot table. So we're able to look at some example of pivot table, some example of VLOOKUP, which will help you to practice going forward. All right, now this is our table. If you look at this information, it's not well arranged. Pivot table is used to summarize data. Okay, if you have a complex data, you can summarize using what? Pivot table. Whereby you have a data like this that is looking so scattered, not well arranged, not well organized, then you can use what? Your pivot table to do that. Okay, so you can see that we have order number, courses, price to day, number of days training, and all of that. Okay, so we have Excel, PowerPoint, access, and all of that. This table is not well arranged, so we want to know the arrangement. We want to summarize this data or this information using what? A pivot table, so that it will be well, organized for someone to understand. Okay, so what we're going to do is to go to insert. That is where we have our pivot table. Now in our insert tab, you can see that we have pivot table here. Now once you click on the pivot table, Excel will select the range for you. Now in this dialog box, you can create your pivot table in a new worksheet or in an existing worksheet. So what we're going to do is to say new worksheet and click on OK. So here we are in our new worksheet. Let's say first of all, we're going to summarize our customer number or our cost or our customer price or price to day for training or number of days to training or customer or total value. So or number, order number. So let's say we start with cost. Let's summarize the cost. By the time you click on this cost, it shows you that these are the summary of the costs we have, meaning we have Access, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word training. Those are the costs. If you don't click for it to appear here, you can equally do what? Click and drag it where you have what? The row. You see that? Click and drag it to where you have the row. The next thing we want to summarize here. Now look at the difference here that in this table, the information wasn't well arranged. Okay, see the way information is looking not really arranged, maybe as if you can't read this information. So we want to organize it. So you see that now the way this information was arranged, I see it now the way it's well arranged, that these are our courses. Before now it wasn't arranged this way or organized this way. So we want to see maybe price to day for training, that is total price to day for training. So we can drag it under where we have what value. So that will give us what sum of price stroke day for training for our courses. That means assets, the total was 1,008, Excel total was what 2,000, PowerPoint 1,350. So these are just the summary compared to the way our table look like. Okay, if the table is like this and we have a large table, we will find it difficult to summarize or to see how we can understand this information. But now that we create a pivot table, we now see the summary of all the courses we did, and we now see the sum of all the price stroke day for training. If there's any particular field I want to summarize or see the total, what I will do is to say I want to see total value. That means I want to see total value of training. So I will now click on the total value and drag it under what value. So you see that I have sum of total value. So feel free to use any pivot table, and you will see the field from on your right side of the table or your screen, and you'll be able to select the field you want to summarize. You can remove any of this by turning off the check mark or deleting it out from your value or from your rows. It depends on the one you want to remove. Okay. Now in the end, we want to create a pivot chart. You can summarize your data also using a pivot chart. How do you create a pivot chart? If you go to insert under a group called chart, and you will see what a pivot chart, just like every other chart, you can click on the pivot chart here and say pivot chart. So when you click on pivot chart, it will show you the pivot chart dialog box. So you choose any chart of your choice, maybe column, line, pie, or any chart of your choice. So let's say I want to create column chart. I'll just click on it and click OK to have my chart. That means that automatically I'm summarizing my data using what a pivot chart. Okay, as you can see. Now, what is the difference between creating a normal chart and a pivot chart? A pivot chart, for example, based on what I was doing here, give me, if you look at here, give me cost. That means I can filter out any cost I don't want or any information I don't want from my chart automatically. So this is what a normal chart cannot do. Okay, so let's say I want to remove Microsoft Word from my table. I can just click here to turn it off and click OK. Now, if you look at my main worksheet or my main summary, I don't have Microsoft Word. If you look at my chart, I don't have Microsoft Word again. But maybe let's say I want to print this. After printing this, I want to bring back my Microsoft Word. I can click here and turn it off by clicking on Microsoft Word and click OK. It now brings out my Microsoft Word both on my worksheet and on my chart. So you see that pivot table allows us to summarize the complex data and make our data look well organized and looking very neat. So next time you have a complex data that you want to summarize, you want to see the total of a particular value in a summarized way or in an organized way, I mean, pivot table can help you. Now, you may not have a small table for this, but when you have a complex data, a complex table you want to summarize, then you can follow this step or this process to summarize your own data. Okay. All right. Thank you.